Chapters 22 to 27, Book 10, Volume 2 of Morte Darthur. This is a Librvox recording. All Librvox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librvox.org. Reading by Lars Rolander. Morte Darthur, Volume 2, by Sir Thomas Malory. Chapter 22. Now pass we our matter, and leave we Sir Gawaine, and speak of King Arthur, that on a day said unto King Mark, Sir, I pray you give me a gift that I shall ask you. Sir, said King Mark, I will give you whatsomever ye desire, an it be in my power. Sir Gramercy, said Arthur, this I will ask you, that ye will be good lord unto Sir Tristram, for he is a man of great honour, and that ye will take him with you into Cornwall, and let him see his friends, and there cherish him for my sake. Sir, said King Mark, I promise you by the faith of my body, and by the faith that I owe to God and to you, I shall worship him for your sake in all that I can or may. Sir, said Arthur, and I will forgive you all the evil will that ever I aught you, and so be that you swear that upon a book before me. With a good will, said King Mark, and so he there sware upon a book afore him and all his knights, and therewith King Mark and Sir Tristram took either other by the hands hard knit together. But for all this King Mark thought falsely, as it proved after, for he put Sir Tristram in prison, and cowardly would have slain him. Then soon after King Mark took his leave to ride into Cornwall, and Sir Tristram made him ready to ride with him, whereof the most part of the Round Table were wroth and heavy, and in especial Sir Launcelot and Sir Lamorak and Sir Dinadan were wroth out of measure, for well they wist King Mark would slay or destroy Sir Tristram. Alas, said Dinadan, that my lord Sir Tristram shall depart. And Sir Tristram took such sorrow that he was amazed like a fool. Alas, said Sir Launcelot unto King Arthur, what have ye done, for ye shall lose the most man of worship that ever came into your court. It was his own desire, said Arthur, and therefore I might not do withal, for I have done all that I can and made them at accord. Accord, said Sir Launcelot. Fie upon that accord, for ye shall hear that he shall slay Sir Tristram, or put him in a prison, for he is the most coward and the villainest king and knight that is now living. And therewith Sir Launcelot departed, and came to King Mark, and said to him thus: Sir King, wit thou well the good knight Sir Tristram shall go with thee. Beware, I rede thee, of treason, for an thou mischief that knight by any manner of falsehood or treason, by the faith I owe to God and to the order of knighthood, I shall slay thee with mine own hands. Sir Launcelot, said the king, overmuch have ye said to me, and I have sworn and said over largely afore King Arthur in hearing of all his knights, that I shall not slay not betray him. It were to me overmuch shame to break my promise. Ye say well, said Sir Launcelot, but ye are called so false and full of treason that no man may believe you. Forsooth it is known well wherefore ye came into this country, and for none other cause but for to slay Sir Tristram. So with great dole King Mark and Sir Tristram rode together, for it was by Sir Tristram's will and his means to go with King Mark, and all was for the intent to see La Beale Isoud, for without the sight of her Sir Tristram might not endure. Chapter 23. Now turn we again unto Sir Lamorak, and speak we of his brethren Sir Tor, which was King Pellinore's first son, and begotten of Ares, wife of the cowherd, for he was a bastard. And Sir Aglovale was his first son begotten in wedlock. Sir Lamorak, Dornar, Percivale, these were his sons too in wedlock. So when King Mark and Sir Tristram were departed from the court, there was made great dole and sorrow for the departing of Sir Tristram. Then the king and his knights made no manner of joys 8 days after. And at the 8 days' end there came to the court a knight with a young squire with him. And when this knight was unarmed he went to the king and required him to make the young squire a knight. Of what lineage is he come? said King Arthur. Sir, said the knight, he is the son of King Pellinore, that did you sometime good service, and he is a brother unto Sir Lamorak de Galis, the good knight. Well, said the king, for what cause desire ye of me that I should make him knight? Wit you well, my lord the king, that this young squire is brother to me as well as to Sir Lamorak, and my name is Aglavale. Sir Aglavale, said Arthur, for the love of Sir Lamorak and for his father's love, he shall be made knight to morrow. Now tell me, said Arthur, what is his name? Sir, said the knight, his name is Percivale de Galis. So on the morn the king made him knight in Camelot. But the king and all the knights thought it would be long or that he proved a good knight. Then at the dinner, when the king was set at the table, and every knight after he was of prowess, the king commanded him to be set among mean knights, and so was Sir Percivale set as the king commanded. Then was there a maiden in the queen's court that was come of high blood, and she was dumb and never spake word. Right so she came straight into the hall and went unto Sir Percivale, and took him by the hand and said aloud, that the king and all the knights might hear it, Arise, Sir Percivale, the noble knight and God's knight, and go with me. And so he did. And there she brought him to the right side of the Siege Perilous, and said, Fair knight, take here thy siege, for that siege appertains to thee and to none other. Right so she departed, and asked a priest. And as she was confessed and houselled, then she died. Then the king and all the court made great joy of Sir Percivale. Chapter 24. Now turn we unto Sir Lamorak, that much was there praised. Then by the mean of Sir Gawaine and his brethren they sent for their mother there besides, fast by castle beside Camelot. And all was to that intent to slay Sir Lamorak. The Queen of Orkney was there but a while, but Sir Lamorak wist of their being, and was full fain, and for to make an end of this matter he sent unto her, and there betwixt them was a night assigned that Sir Lamorak should come to her. Thereof was sware Sir Gaheris, and there he rode afore the same night, and waited upon Sir Lamorak. And then he saw where he came all armed, and where Sir Lamorak alighted he tied his horse to a privy postern, and so he went into a parlour and unarmed him. And then he went unto the queen's bed, and she made of him passing great joy, and he of her again, for either loved other passing sore. So when the knight Sir Gaheris saw his time, he came to their bedside all armed, with his sword naked, and suddenly gat his mother by the hair and struck off her head. When Sir Lamorak saw the blood dash upon him all hot, the which he loved passing well, wit you well he was sore abashed and dismayed of that dolorous night. And therewith all Sir Lamorak leaped out of the bed in his shirt as a knight dismayed, saying thus: Ah, Sir Gaheris, knight of the Table Round, foul and evil have ye done, and to you great shame. Alas, why have ye slain your mother that bare you? With more right ye should have slain me. The offence hast thou done, said Gaheris, notwithstanding a man is born to offer his service. But yet shouldst thou beware with whom thou meddlest, for thou hast put me and my brethren to a shame, and thy father slew our father, and thou to lie by our mother is too much shame for us to suffer. And as for thy father, King Pellinore, my brother Sir Gawaine and I slew him. Ye did him the more wrong, said Sir Lamorak, for my father slew not your father, it was Balin le Savage, and as yet my father's death is not revenged. Leave those words, said Sir Gaheris, for an thou speak feloniously I will slay thee. But because thou art naked I am ashamed to slay thee. But wit you well in what place I may get thee, I shall slay thee. And now my mother is quit of thee, and withdraw thee and take thine armour that thou were gone. Sir Lamorak saw there was no other bought, but fast armed him, and took his horse and rode his way, making great sorrow. But for the shame and dolour he would not ride to King Arthur's court, and rode another way. But when it was known that Gaheris had slain his mother, the king was passing wroth, and commanded him to go out of his court. Wit ye well Sir Gawaine was wroth that Gaheris had slain his mother, and let Sir Lamorak escape, and for this matter was the king passing wroth, and so was Sir Launcelot and many other knights. Sir, said Sir Launcelot, here is a great mischief befallen by felony, and by forecast treason, that your sister is thus shamefully slain. And I dare say that it was wrought by treason, and I dare say ye shall lose that good knight Sir Lamorak, the which is great pity. I wot well and am sure, and Sir Tristram wist it, he would never more come within your court, the which should grieve you much more, and all your knights. God defend, said the noble King Arthur, that I should lose Sir Lamorak or Sir Tristram, for then twain of my chief knights of the Table Round were gone. Sir, said Sir Launcelot, I am sure ye shall lose Sir Lamorak, for Sir Gawaine and his brethren will slay him by one mean or other, for they among them have concluded and sworn to slay him an ever they may see their time. That shall I let, said Arthur. Chapter 25. Now leave we of Sir Lamorak, and speak of Sir Gawaine's brethren, and specially of Sir Agravaine and Sir Mordred. As they rode on their adventures they met with a knight fleeing, sore wounded, and they asked him what tidings. Fair knight, said he, here comes the knight after me that will slay me. With that came Sir Dinadan riding to them by adventure, but he would promise them no help. But Sir Agravaine and Sir Mordred promised him to rescue him. Therewithal came that knight straight unto them, and anon he proffered to joust. That saw Sir Mordred and rode to him, but he struck Mordred over his horse's tail. That saw Sir Agravaine, and straight he rode toward that knight, and right so as he served Mordred so he served Agravaine, and said to them, Sirs, wit ye well both that I am Breuse Saunce Pité that hath done this to you. And yet he rode over Agravaine 5 or 6 times. When Dinadan saw this he must needs joust with him for shame. And so Dinadan and he encountered together, that with pure strength Sir Dinadan smote him over his horse's tail. Then he took his horse and fled, for he was on foot one of the valiantest knights in Arthur's days, and a great destroyer of all good knights. Then rode Sir Dinadan unto Sir Mordred and unto Sir Agravaine. Sir knight, said they all, well have ye done, and well have ye revenged us, wherefore we pray you tell us your name. Fair sirs, ye ought to know my name, the which is called Sir Dinadan. When they understood that it was Dinadan they were more wroth than they were before, for they hated him out of measure because of Sir Lamorak. For Dinadan had such a custom that he loved all good knights that were valiant, and he hated all those that were destroyers of good knights. And there were none that hated Dinadan but those that ever were called murderers. Then spake the hurt knight that Breuse Saunce Pité had chased, his name was Dalan, and said: If thou be Dinadan, thou slewest my father. It may well be so, said Dinadan, but then it was in my defence, and at his request. By my head, said Dalan, thou shalt die therefore. And therewith he dressed his spear and his shield. And to make the shorter tale, Sir Dinadan smote him down off his horse, that his neck was nigh broken. And in the same wise he smote Sir Mordred and Sir Agravaine. And after, in the quest of the Sangreal, cowardly and feloniously they slew Dinadan, the which was great damage, for he was a great bourder and a passing good knight. And so Sir Dinadan rode to a castle that hight Beal Valet, and there he found Sir Palomides that was not yet whole of the wound that Sir Lamorak gave him. And there Dinadan told Palomides all the tidings that he heard and saw of Sir Tristram, and how he was gone with King Mark, and with him he hath all his will and desire. Therewith Sir Palomides waxed wroth, for he loved La Beale Isoud, and then he wist well that Sir Tristram enjoyed her. CHAPTER 26. Now leave we Sir Palomides and Sir Dinadan in the castle of Beal Valet, and turn we again unto King Arthur. There came a knight out of Cornwall, his name was Fergus, a fellow of the Round Table. And there he told the king and Sir Launcelot good tidings of Sir Tristram, and there were brought goodly letters, and how he left him in the castle of Tintagil. Then came the damosel that brought goodly letters unto King Arthur and unto Sir Launcelot, and there she had passing good cheer of the king, and of the Queen Guenever, and of Sir Launcelot. Then they wrote goodly letters again, but Sir Launcelot bade ever Sir Tristram beware of King Mark, for ever he called him in his letter King Fox, as who saith he fareth all with wiles and treason. Whereof Sir Tristram in his heart thanked Sir Launcelot. Then the damosel went unto La Beale Isoud, and bare her letters from the king and from Sir Launcelot, whereof she was in passing great joy. Fair damosel, said La Beale Isoud, how fareth my lord Arthur, and the Queen Guenever, and the noble knight Sir Launcelot? She answered, and to make short tale, much the better that ye and Sir Tristram be in joy. God reward them, said La Beale Isoud, for Sir Tristram suffered great pain for me, and I for him. So the damosel departed and brought letters to King Mark, and when he had read them and understood them, he was wroth with Sir Tristram, for he deemed that he had seen the damosel unto King Arthur, for Arthur and Launcelot in a manner threatened King Mark. And as King Mark read these letters he deemed treason by Sir Tristram. Damosel, said King Mark, will ye ride again and bear letters from me unto King Arthur? Sir, she said, I will be at your commandment to ride when ye will. Ye say well, said the king. Come again, said the king, to morrow, and fetch your letters. Then she departed, and told them how she should ride again with letters unto Arthur. Then we pray you, said La Beale Isoud and Sir Tristram, that when ye have received your letters that ye would come by us, that we may see the privity of your letters. All that I may do, madam, ye wot well I must do for Sir Tristram, for I have been long his own maiden. So on the morn the damosel went to King Mark to have had his letters, and to depart. I am not avised, said King Mark, as at this time to send my letters. Then privily and secretly he sent letters unto King Arthur, and unto Queen Guenever, and unto Sir Launcelot. So the varlet departed, and found the king and the queen in Wales at Carlion. And as the king and the queen were at mass, the varlet came with the letters. And when mass was done, the king and the queen opened the letters privily by themselves. And the beginning of the king's letter spake wonderly short unto King Arthur, and bade him enter meat with himself and with his wife, and of his knights, for he was able enough to rule and keep his wife. Chapter 27. When King Arthur understood the letter, he mused of many things, and thought on his sister's words, Queen Morgan le Fay, that she had said betwixt Queen Guenever and Sir Launcelot. And in this thought he studied a great while. Then he bethought him again how his sister was his own enemy, and that she hated the queen and Sir Launcelot, and so he put all out of his thought. Then King Arthur read the letter again, and the latter clause said that King Mark took Sir Tristram for his mortal enemy, wherefore he put Arthur out of doubt he would be revenged of Sir Tristram. Then was King Arthur wroth with King Mark, and when Queen Guenever read her letter and understood it, she was wroth out of measure, for the letter spake shame of her and by Sir Launcelot. And so privily she sent the letter unto Sir Launcelot, and when he wist the intent of the letter he was so wroth that he laid him down on his bed to sleep, whereof Sir Dinadan was ware, for it was his manner to be privy with all good knights. And as Sir Launcelot slept, he stole the letter out of his hand and read it word by word, and then he made great sorrow for anger. And so Sir Launcelot awaked and went to a window and read the letter again, the which made him angry. Sir, said Dinadan, wherefore be ye angry? Discover your heart to me, forsooth ye wot well I owe you good will. Howbeit I am poor knight, and a servitor unto you, and to all good knights. For though I be not of worship myself, I love all those that be of worship. It is truth, said Sir Launcelot, ye are a trusty knight, and for great trust I will shew you my counsel. And when Dinadan understood all, he said, This is my counsel, set you right not by these threats, for King Mark is so villainous that by fair speech shall never man get of him. But ye shall see what I shall do. I will make a lay for him, and when it is made I shall make a harpers to sing it afore him. So anon he went and made it, and taught it an harper that hight Eliot. And when he could it, he taught it to many harpers. And so by the will of Sir Launcelot and of Arthur, the harpers went straight into Wales and into Cornwall to sing the lay that Sir Dinadan made by King Mark, the which was the worst lay that ever harper sang with harp or with any other instruments. End of Book 10, chapters 22 to 27. Read by Lars Rolander.